The much anticipated State of the Nation address for 2019 has finally been delivered by the head of state, His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Now, a lot has been expounded within this address compared to what happened last year. And to help us analyze the promises or the deliberations of the ruling government, we have Dr. Ramathan Ggoobi with us, a policy analyst within Uganda and a predominant economist. Let's get to hear what he has to say. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, sir. Just call me Ramadan.
Ramadan. All right, perfect. Now, to start with, why do you think such an address is relevant to Ugandans?
It's relevant because, one, it is constitutional. It has, those who put together the constitution thought it is important for the head of state to update the country annually on how the country is doing, generally, because it's the center of information. He has that very powerful office which collects all the information around the country, through intelligence even, which you and I may not be privy to. And therefore, you should be able to give us an update on how the entire country is doing, socially, economically, and politically.
Interesting. And before we actually go into that in-depth analysis of the address itself, where do you see him gathering all this information from? How valid is what he has to deliver?
First of all, whatever he says should be the truth, should be facts. That's why his speech has to be read from the script which has been prepared by his office, because it is a constitutional requirement that he gets the data from official kind of offices. That's the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the Central Bank, if he's going to deal with the economy. He has to get it from the police and the defense offices if he's going to deal with the security. He has to get it from his party secretariat if he's going to talk about party politics. In other words, he's expected to give us not his opinions, but what they have prepared for him officially. That's why it has to be a written speech.
Wow. Amazing, hence making it authentic, I imagine.
The president has mainly, I think, been talking about the usual issues. The economy. He's a guy who is more interested in addressing economic aspects of the country than even politics and other things, security and so on. Is mainly biased on the economic side because he's now so much embroiled in getting wealth creation on the agenda, getting industrialization on the agenda. Remember, this is a State of the Nation address which precedes the budget speech next week. So almost 3/4 of the speech should be expected in that area of the economy.
Amazing. Now, before we went on air, we had had a brief preamble of the recent preliminary statistics that was released by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. And it does indicate a slight decline within the country's GDP. Now, vis-a-vis his speech where he actually indicates that everything seems to be on track, what is your take on this? Is he contradicting the statistics themselves?
Not really. I think he has avoided going, quarterly, because, UBOS was reporting a quarterly performance and putting it in perspective of just the previous financial year. Now he has used a longer term kind of focus on the economy. I think, again, is just trying to be tactical to avoid giving the report that the economy has shrunk a bit in the last quarter, mainly because of some of the challenges, the delay in rains and a few other things which UBOS has told us. So what he has done, he has gone longer term, trying to trace the economy for the past, almost 50 years after independence, and specifically looking at the period when he has been in power from 1986 to date. Is showing that Uganda, if you put that period into perspective, Uganda has been one of the fastest growing economies, not only in the region, but in Africa and the world at large. again is trying to score some of course political points, given the fact that this is now election season.
Right.
I don't expect any bad reports from government, not let alone from the president.
Right.
There is what we call rose scenarios in economics. This is a period of painting roses everywhere. They try to downplay the negative information and try to echo and amplify the positive, so that it can, you know, be the ones in the ears of voters for a good return in 2021.
Interesting. Now, don't you think this actually creates a biased perspective within the listeners, within the citizens?
You know, it is the politics of numbers, politics of statistics, things which require statistics. It depends on the way someone presents. He may not necessarily tell you a lie, but they are going to present statistics in almost in the same way as ladies put on miniskirts. You know, there's a guy who is a football manager. One time he said, statistics are like a miniskirt. They give you good ideas, but they hide the most important thing. So likewise, you find that when he gives you the statistics, he may play around with those numbers to give you facts, but without necessarily letting you into, you know, the basket of negative ones. He doesn't want.
Wow. What are the highlights of his address?
One, the economy is on a recovery trajectory, and is saying this economy is going to hit 7% growth next year, financial year. And is saying that the kind of dividends from infrastructure investment, which has been a huge investment since 2006, have started to come in the form of now transport costs are reducing within the country, and we have attracted more investment, especially in industry. He said now Uganda has over 4,900 factories from just 80 factories in the 1990s, early 90s. So his speech is bent exactly on counting the beans which have been harvested in terms of economic progress. He has also talked about electricity, how he has generated now enough electricity, and he says he's targeting, first of all, he says that there has been a reduction in the cost of electricity,
right,
from 11 cents, American cents, now to 7 cents per kilowatt hour. And his target is to have 5 cents per kilowatt hour by 2022. And is saying this is likely to be achieved because now they are investing in a transmission of power from the new dams, that's Isimba and Karuma. And he wants every part of Uganda to have access to this power. And the last part now being, it has been Karamoja,
right,
as well as Bundibujo, and they are also getting on the national grid. Then he has also talked about the aspect of land fragmentation. He has again expounded on it.
Right.
It is something he addressed last year, and he's saying now is opening a new movement, a movement to fight land fragmentation, that he doesn't want any more Ugandans to leave land to their children, then the children come and share the land and cut it into small pieces,
right,
which makes it very unproductive. He's saying he is starting a campaign to ensure that he can encourage Ugandans to now start looking at how they can share land without separating it, without splitting it into pieces.
right.
Maybe by opening a company, a family company, and each of them gets a share, each of the children. And also he has talked about the issue of security, that now they have managed to stop the assassinations of political kind of leaders and other senior officials of government,
Right.
as well as women who used to be kidnapped and killed. That the investment in cameras and also cleaning up of police of these kind of people who had infiltrated it
Right.
has reduced that. So it's on the reporting of what exactly he talked about last year, what he was going to do.
Very, very interesting. Now, Ramathan, we do understand that this show of how many factories we had in the past and how many we have now, how many dams we had and how many we have now, vis-a-vis even the kilometers of roads vis-a-vis what we have now. Like you said earlier on, it is to show economic progress and economic muscle. But given our capacity as a country, given the resources that we've had, is this what is expected of us?
Not really. First, I'm among those who do not celebrate observables, things which, politicians are very good at investing in observables and amplifying them, because they can easily show you that, look, there's a big dam there, there's a road there. Now we can create wealth. But without investing in the people so that they can be able to use those resources, those infrastructures, we're not doing much. For example, most of the roads which have been built, they are fantastic, they are good, but how many Ugandans are using them productively? Even some of us who have cars to drive on them, you are just driving to go and visit your relatives in the village, take them a kilo of sugar. Right. You are driving to go and attend a wedding somewhere in the village. You are driving to go back home over Christmas. You find there is no traffic on the road. The traffic which is there is just, personal cars, right, which is consuming, actually, it's consumption. When you find a few trucks, they are carrying just, charcoal, timber, and some sand. Yes. So we need to create productivity on these roads. We need to invest in people such that they are able to produce agricultural produce, process it, transport it on these roads. They are able to invest in industry, produce a lot of fast-moving goods. We take them to the region and other parts of this East African region, and we bring in foreign exchange. We need to see this electricity, in the houses of people and also in the factories when it can be afforded. Because today, many people can't afford it. We are having electricity in the house, but we can't cook on it. Right. So we are still using charcoal. We are still, using firewood, and this is not good for the environment. So we need to see the cost down. We need to see that, in other words, these infrastructure investments translate into well-being of people, but not them as inputs to be there as an end in themselves, just showing us how beautiful they are. Because when I find people turning roads into, studios, photo studios, they are seated on a tarmac taking pictures, yes, or they are taking selfies on Ginger Bridge, and that's all they can afford. I really do not take seriously such investments. The only investment I would take so seriously is investment in education and health. And also investment in helping people to use those resources. Why education and health? Education is the only opportunity equalizer to me. Yes. It is something which can propel someone from peasantry into knighthood. All of a sudden, you move from your village somewhere in Mayuge or Butambala or wherever, and you find yourself seated on the same table with the king of Uganda or the king of, because you're educated, you're a PhD, or you're an engineer, or you're a lawyer, or you are an IT person. You have expert knowledge in a certain area. Which they are looking from you. Yes. So education is so critical, and yet education here in Uganda is one of the least funded in the region. Right. When you look at our percentage of GDP, which we spend on education, is the lowest. It's just less than 3% of GDP invested. When you look at the percentage of the budget invested in education, is also among the lowest in sub-Saharan Africa, 16%. Some countries have now gone and they are investing over 22%. countries which are poor. And when I'm talking of countries, I'm not talking of countries which are big, rich, and so on. No, you're talking of Burundi, Rwanda, very small economies, very poorer than Uganda, but they have prioritized education. And if they go on that trajectory, and for us we are investing in observables, we shall find ourselves unable even to produce people who are going to maintain the dams, to maintain the roads. We still have to import Chinese to come and maintain them. So we need to invest in the people of Uganda, in quality education. This UPE thing is just a joke. We need to review it, to revisit it, and really, I think what government needs to do is to go back to cost sharing. Government cannot have enough money to educate these so many children in Uganda, because Uganda has more children than adults. True. So if you say you're going to invest as a government on their education and health, you are literally talking about half of the budget, and you will not afford to do that. So you better encourage people to pay some money, maybe 40% or 50% of the fees, and then the government pays the other 50. What you do, just go and invest in those people so that they can generate income and be able to pay. But when you say you are going to pay for everything, then you are overstraining the budget.
Interesting. Interesting. And I would, of course, imagine in a layman's saying, this would partly contribute to the laziness, the laziness of Ugandans if they know everything is being catered for by the government.
That's why in the villages there, many men, they are now absentee, parents. They are absentee house heads. They just, go in the trading centers in the morning to discuss politics. Right. After that, they watch this European football. They take some alcohol from the little money they sold from some maize which their wives grew, and then they go back home. First, they know I'm not supposed to pay fees. I'm not supposed to pay graduated tax. When a child is sick, the mother will take them to Center 4 or Center 2 somewhere where government has to put medicine. So their job is to sit in trading centers and harass government Indeed. For not providing those things. So you need to go back and put some responsibility in people, civic responsibility. And those things like some looking after family, paying some little tax, some of the incentives which actually induce responsibility in people.
Very interesting. Now, Ramathan, 7% is the target of GDP growth, yes. And again, the president's address does show that we are not doing so badly off. Yeah. Now, from an economic point of view, what has he done right, or what has his government done right so far?
I think one thing he has done right is targeting industrialization. Right. Because it has been a theme for his budget for the last 3 years, and going forward, it's also going to be the main target of National Development Plan 3. Right. Uganda's future, and even the present, lies in industrialization. Right. Because this economy has been growing in the past. Uganda has had one of the fastest growing economies, even in the past. But this growth did not transform this country. It is still one of the poorest countries on earth. Still has some of the people who go to bed without food, enough food. It's one of those countries where, in other words, people are living at the margin. Why? Because we have failed to create productive jobs. Jobs which can bring in money sustainably and they are decent. Someone is looking forward to working. Right. Factory jobs are the only assured way of employing people of our caliber productively. Right. Because it's not easy. I know some people have been saying, why not services? Why don't we promote tourism? Why don't we promote ICT? Why don't we promote finance and so on? Well, services actually employ the largest number of people in the world, especially in the developed world. Right. But those services are formal services which require a lot of years of schooling for someone to get to a point where he's employable there. Right. Now, many Ugandans are not in that category. It's not easy to turn a farmer, a subsistence farmer, into a computer programmer. It takes a lot of years of training and schooling and unlearning and so on. But it is quite very easy to turn that farmer into a factory worker.
Right.
Because it's very easy to train someone that when the machines are moving, like you press this button and the things will move this direction.
Right.
Or you put these things in the box and you take it there.
They can even learn on the job.
Yeah, they can easily learn. That's why countries know it's not rocket science. If you want to employ people productively, go into manufacturing.
Right.
2, manufacturing has the least barriers to trade in the world. It is easier for Uganda to export products in a box to South Sudan, to Kenya, to Rwanda, to Burundi, than exporting their services. When you are going to Rwanda or to Kenya or wherever, they will first ask you, where's your passport? What are you going to do here?
Right.
When are you going back to your country? They will never ask you if you have a box of things, taking products which have been certified, that these are manufactured products which meet the quality standards and all of those other requirements of Kenya, and I'm bringing them to sell them to Kenya. Right. They will just open the borders to trade with you. So, if you want to beat these trade barriers, tariff and non-tariff, manufactured products are the best ways of investment. So, as economists, we always encourage countries like Uganda. If you want to transform your country, invest in industry. And it is good that government is putting emphasis there. Right. However, one weakness they still have, what they put on paper is not what they are implementing. On paper, it's a perfect fit for a strategy. Right. But when it comes to practice, there are a lot of mistakes being done. First, they are not putting enough budget in industry. This year, they tried to improve a bit. It's now about 200 billion shillings, which they have given to Ministry of Trade and Industry and cooperatives to promote the main theme of the budget. But remember, this is a 40 trillion shilling budget. Just 200 billion is peanuts. Indeed. I would really think that if this government was serious and they say, let us swallow the pin, infrastructure, and then industry, plus education. These are the priorities. Wow. And we are putting 1 trillion shillings in industry. Let us build the first agro-industries in each region of Uganda. And they sink in that money. This tendency of saying, you see, they will steal the money and so on. Let that money be stolen in that area, in that sector, and take it down to the people. Indeed. Such that if it is to be stolen, let it be stolen in a village in Iganga. The thieves are in Iganga. Indeed. They will turn around the economy of Iganga. But now it is here in town. Every time the budget is read, it is put in ministries and agencies which are operating in Kampala here. So when the thieves steal, they steal here in Kampala and they retain the money here. Right. They build nice houses, drive big cars. You find today, when you look around Kampala here, these hills, Naguru, Mbuya here, where I stay, Bugorobi, Muyenga, Mutunga, and so on. The swimming pools which are there are supposed to be the valley dams for cattle. Oh. They are supposed to be the seedlings for farmers. Yes. The thieves have stolen and they are retaining them here. So my point is, let government, if they have prioritized industrialization, agro-industry, let them put enough money there, take it down to those levels where they are building these industrial centers. Yes. Try to create regional economies. Okay. That will help in
some form of zoning, you mean?
In what bringing in what we call inclusive growth.
Yes.
Yeah, because these zones already are there. There's no need for more zoning. The zones are there. Like we built a factory in Soroti for fruits. Right. Let them build another one in Busoga for fruits. Right. Let them build another one in Gulu for cassava. Let them build another one in Bundibujo for cocoa.
Right.
Let them build like that around the country. You can, you know, get to different places and put these factories. Yeah.
Wow. And of course, I would imagine as you're talking about industrialization, the UDC team has been, I would say, pumped up a bit in this address. I heard President Museveni saying that they're going to lift it up a bit. This is your area. How much of promising is this verbal statement?
That's what I was saying, that there's too much talking and
Less
paperwork
implementation
than implementation. For example, UDC, where I sit on the board, Parliament went and cut the money for feasibility studies. They said this is not a priority.
Oh, gosh.
Let them concentrate on the ventures where they already invested. But you see, the country is on a move. You are saying you're going to build agro industries. They need a cassava factory in Gulu. They need a fruits factory in Busoga. The Butambala people need a factory for ginger. And you want to do feasibilities on how these factories should be set up, where, and who should run them. And somebody is saying, you cut the money from there, 2 billion shillings, and they cut it and put it under their docket as allowances for MPs. And now the president goes and he allows such, a budget to pass, because his signature, if it's not on the budget, it can't be read. He can take it back and tell them, revise this budget, return this money here and here and there. Right. So I'm not happy with the Parliament, first of all. The way they rationalized what they thought was rationalization, actually they were irrationalizing it.
Right.
Taking the money away from productive sectors into consumption. And to me, I think that's where they are not walking the talk. They say the government is trying to industrialize, but they are putting money into consumptive areas.
Wow, very interesting. Now, dear viewer, we are taking a very short break. Now, when we get back, Ramathan is going to be telling us more about the State of Nation address for the year 2019. So stay tuned here on Smart 24 TV. Welcome back, and you are still watching Smart 24 TV. Now, remember, we are giving an in-depth analysis of the State of the Nation address for 2019 by His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. Now remember, this is one way or the other a report card to score the performance of the government in power in social, economic and political issues. And of course, to share with us his expert opinions, we have Dr. Ramathan Ggoobi once again. And Doctor, before we went for this break, you had expounded a little bit on the reality of this economic growth that the president seems to depict within his address. But then you had also gone to give us an in-depth analysis of what the government has done right vis-a-vis how much more it needs to put in. You've pointed out industrialization as a key area that has potential and that is being actually pumped up by government, and yet there are some shortfalls that you've highlighted. In this segment, I would want us to tackle a few issues. One, the issue of the environment. With this issue of climate change drawing a global debate on the potential of industrialization vis-a-vis its damage to society, vis-a-vis its damage to climate, we see Uganda itself being a victim. Recently, we had a few people and properties perishing in Bududa. These are recurrent climate and environmental issues. I understand the president has mentioned something about it. What is your take on his opinion?
I think for the first time, I think I will congratulate the president. I rarely, do that. For a few years ago, about 3 years ago, listening and focusing his government on preserving the environment, because this country was going to the dogs. Right. They had kind of liberalized the destruction of environment, right. Wetlands, forests, river banks, Lake Victoria and other lakes. People had overfished them and so on. Right. Then he took a decision, one, to say that wetlands are now a no-go area for people who are doing agriculture or settling in urban and so on. So he reclaimed the wetlands. Right. And you can see the dividends. The results are back. These rains you see which are now coming, it's because of that kind of repair we have done on the environment. Wetlands, forests, and these river banks which people were now taking over. Right. That one, kudos to him. But now going forward, we still have challenges with our environment. Definitely seasonality is still on. Right. When it's raining as if all the waters have now converged in Uganda. When it's not raining at all. Nothing at all. So we need to continue regulating this environment by getting people to plant more trees, by ensuring that the forests which are there are conserved. When I recently I had news that Budong and other forests were being given out for degazetting, I thought this government was not again serious on that. So we need really to go on with this kind of focus which the government has done to recover the environment. Right. When you talk of Bududa, first of all, it was a mistake for people to stay in such a porous kind of area. They're on the windy side of the mountain. Right. There is a lot of rain there, and yet the soils are volcanic. They keep on moving. So it doesn't need a genius or a scientist to see that this is a dangerous place which needs to be, gazetted, right. And they take people away from that area. Government has been talking of relocating them for years. Now they were saying they don't have resources to build, resettle, because they need about 900 houses, I think households, to get these people out of the area who had remained there. They have only a budget for 100 houses, so they have a shortage of 800. But I think these are some of the things which need to be prioritized. Right. And even if it means actually borrowing, that's where you need to borrow. You borrow money and resettle people. Because, lives are not repairable. You can't get back a life lost. Like those people were buried again. And it's really shaming that after years and years of these catastrophes, they are still occurring. Yeah, and in the same place. Oh, yeah. Mm. But we need also to be very careful with the way we have allowed this now new wave of industries. We need to plan them. Right. Because as you can see, the country is on industrialization agenda, industrialization drive. But again, we are using laissez-faire kind of method. Wherever you have your land, it is yours, you can put up a factory. That's dangerous. So you find factories now in residential areas, factories on the roadsides, and these are, we don't even know whether they carried out enough kind of environmental survey, right. And analysis and feasibility analysis to ensure that they are not dangerous for people's lives. Here in Kampala, you find factories are scattered all over the place. I know a cigarette factory in the middle of Chireka. There's a cigarette factory. I went there to supervise a student who had gone there to do internship. And I was shocked to see a factory of tobacco in the middle of a town. And people are inhaling these, dangerous fumes every day. And so when you see in the future, near future, some rampant lung cancer here in Kampala, it will be because of such things. So we need to get serious with the regulating the growth and the development that we need.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Now, of course, when you talk about factories being within the city center, I would imagine I would imagine there are those who would critique factories being near even petrol stations. I would say petrol stations are being put everywhere and anywhere. Now, I would like to redirect your attention towards our political climate in Uganda as we head towards the elections. The political roadmap is seemingly clear. People are dashing out money here and there for campaigns. And at the same time, it is said that the economy currently could be affected by the regional wrangles or conflicts that we have. For example, the one we have with Rwanda. What did the president have to say about it, and what is your opinion?
You know, the president is a very strategic man. He doesn't comment on sensitive regional security and political matters.
Right.
That has been him. He kind of leaves those he's trying to have a conflict with guessing. He doesn't want to play his cards out. He keeps his cards on the chest.
Right.
So most of the members of parliament and the country would have expected him to address squarely the issue of Rwanda. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's not interested in that. But definitely Rwanda is affecting us. Because Rwanda is a very strategic market for us. It's a $250 million market. And mainly of agricultural produce and these fast-moving manufactured goods which Ugandans produce. Losing $250 million is a lot of money. And already there has been a nosedive in the performance of that market.
Right.
There is definitely a need to talk to Kigali and find a way of resolving this conflict. Whichever conflict it is, you know, there are a lot of accusations and counter-accusations.
Right.
But I think for the beauty of both countries, Rwanda and us, we are both landlocked, we are both small economies, poor economies. How can poverty-stricken countries choose to fight instead of collaborating and cooperating? It defeats, you know, all logic.
Interesting.
But looking at the political environment in Uganda generally, me, I'm more interested in the political economy because I'm not a politician.
Right.
I want to see how the politics affects the economics. I really see that, first of all, the politics has come so early. We are already in the political season.
Right.
The campaigns are almost on. The president is campaigning. The opposition wants to go in. Is fighting them with the police, tear gassing everyone, and wherever they try to go, their rallies are disrupted. Now, this is the noise which we usually talk about in economics.
Okay.
And the economics of business hates noise because it brings risk, which is not insurable.
Indeed.
There is no insurance company which sells a policy on political risk that in the event the political environment changes into chaos, we shall compensate you. It's not there.
It's not there.
And because of that, therefore, whenever there is any likelihood of insurgents or chaos or even these riots, you'll find that many business people and investors will enter into a wait-and-see mode.
Okay. Okay.
They will start now holding on their money instead of investing it. They say, let us first see how it plays out. And that's not good for the economy. Particularly for our economy, which is predominantly agrarian.
Right.
You would want to see that the investors who come in can be given this confidence that there is continuity.
Yes.
And that there is no any likelihood that we shall have any reversals in the security situation and the political situation, so that they can invest comfortably. Uganda has been lucky to attract a lot of foreign direct investments over the years. But the challenge is they are quite sporadic and almost fluctuate on a predictable kind of spectrum.
Yes.
Like now, they have started to target that year 2019, 20, then 2020,
yes.
21, you will see capital starting to get out. Now it has been coming in, then it gets out, especially portfolio investors, those who come in to buy shares in our companies and the government paper and so on.
Right.
They target a certain period. When they bring in money, then they take it out. Right. And remember, our capital account is open. You can bring money and take it away at any time you want. So that's not good for us. For example, if we were not having this type of politics, we would have taken advantage of what's happening in Kenya now. You know, Kenyans are keeping on making mistakes.
Okay.
They fixed interest rates some time back. It affected their capacity to get credit to SMEs.
Right.
Now they are demonetizing. They are trying to change their currency. Their 1,000 shilling, Kenya shilling, has been outlawed by 1st of October. Nobody will be allowed to use their 1,000 Kenya shillings, the old one. They must have acquired the new one.
Okay.
Apparently, they are saying they are trying to fight corruption there, that people are hoarding the money. But you see, even if they were there, those people were hoarding it. Now they would be looking for markets like Uganda to bring the money and buy property, invest, such that it's not traced in Kenya.
Yes.
But now when you are also not safe, they will look elsewhere.
They will look elsewhere.
They will go to Tanzania, they will go to South Africa. But now we would have been able to attract them and debate them if our politics was quite stable. Yes. So we need to really look at how do we address this governance issue. Because it is a very, very thorny issue in Uganda.
Right.
Because if I ask to your question, if President Museveni loses the election in 2021, what happens? If he wins, what happens? Either way, that question is difficult to answer.
Indeed, indeed.
Lose or win, it's both very, very tough for Uganda. And that's not good. That's not good. Such questions need to be answered quite smoothly. Okay. And that's what investors actually ask. Whenever they contact you, analyze for me the political economy in Uganda, I want to invest. Those are kind of the questions they want answers to. Okay. If this guy lost, would he leave power? If he won, will the opposition relent? Either way, it's difficult.
It is a difficult one. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Now, in your analysis of the political business climate or the political economy, yeah, you mentioned the issue of security and its ability to actually scare away foreign direct investors and other investors anyway. Last year, same time actually, similar time, I think it was in June, yeah, immediately, slightly after he read the State of Nation address, yeah, one of his big people got murdered somewhere, and then he comes out with this 10-point security program, most of which has been actually implemented. Now, you earlier on did mention that because of such programs, we saw the murders, especially within high state officials. Yet again, recently, we had similar cases, though this time they are predominant among civilians. Yeah. What is your take on that, the state of security in Uganda?
Yeah, the state of security, first of all, by and large, it has improved.
Right.
When you look at where we are coming from. But talking of that it has improved in a situation where these violent robberies are still taking place, someone can come in broad daylight, shoot people in a shop, steal money, and it goes away. You can see that where we are coming from, it has been really bad.
Indeed.
So we should be more interested in where we are going. Let us not look in this high-end mirror. Let us look in the front.
Okay.
I can see that where we are going also is still hazy. Why? Because, you know, when the economics fails to work, security cannot work.
Okay.
And economics has not yet been fixed. In countries where there is security guaranteed, economics is working for so many people. But in Uganda, even when the economy is growing, it's growing and it's going to a few people. Most of the younger people have been left out.
Right.
When you look at the way we pay, for example, our security guys, those whom we want to keep us safe, it's really not good enough. That's why you see that, to me, I think there's a lot of conspiracy between security and criminals to perpetuate a few, crimes in the country. Like there in the villages, people will tell you, for us, we always discuss security at macro level.
Okay.
But there is security at micro level. People cannot even keep their coffee in the gardens, cannot keep their vanilla, cannot keep their matoke. There are people who come at night and harvest them.
Yes.
That's also a security issue. But it's because of the poor economics that you will find that even the people who have access to land to grow coffee are few. Most of the youth, the youth don't have that access.
All right.
Those who have it, they don't want to do agriculture because it's still dirty.
Right.
It's agriculture of a hand hoe. They would want to do mechanized agriculture. So that's why government needs to do this as a comprehensive and holistic approach to resolving these issues. The security issue is well connected with the economic issues in the country, which is connected with the politics of the country. Because when the politics is not working, don't expect the economy to work, don't expect the security to work. Those three need to be addressed together.
Okay.
But that's why you see that now, because of the being the hazy kind of environment I've told you where we are going, government has invested more money in security.
Okay.
You see that the budget for security has been increased by almost 1.5 trillion shillings this coming year.
Okay.
Last year it was about 2.6 trillion, now it's 3.6 plus trillion shillings. And this has been brought about by the insecurity in the country. Like now, government has recruited LODUs. They have to pay them, they have to look after them. We have police, we have LODUs, we have the army. All of them trying to guard a very small space. Because now we are turning into a police state. The economics is not working. Many people think it's the politics which is the problem, but it's both of them. It's political economy.
Okay.
When the economy doesn't work, people cannot be peaceful.
Indeed.
In the countries where the economics is working, people don't have even time to think about politics. When you go to those Scandinavian countries, the most livable countries, people don't know even their leaders. You ask someone on the street, who's the Prime Minister of Denmark? And they tell you, Prime Minister, I have other things to do.
They don't know, they don't care.
They don't care. I was in the Netherlands and this mayor came on a bicycle, you know,
Okay.
and we were wondering, we saw a guy in jeans riding a bike and backed, and now they say, this is the mayor. And we were asking him, how do you manage to pass through all these streets on a bike? He said, those guys don't know me. They are busy doing their things.
Okay.
Now in Kampala here, who doesn't know Lord Mayor? Even kids, they sing. Why? Because he's always on TV, you know, crying.
By, you will see the car.
Police is grabbing him.
Yes.
Woo-wee. And every kid now knows that, oh, that's the Lord Mayor. Once the economics is not working, people will be so interested in the politics. That's why every evening you see on television, in newspapers, wherever, they start with the headlines of politics, failing. They tell you how the president has done this, the mayor has done this, minister has done this, because they think that's where people's interests are. Yes. But you know, people have a lot of interest in economics. Because it's the economics which brings the bread, which brings the food on table. And if it's not fixed, then they become violent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, I've avoided asking the question of agriculture because I feel this is a song that we have sung over and over again. And yet again, it can't be avoided. I mean, you're talking about, for example, making Ugandans more productive so that they don't have time to pay attention to politics. And yet again, it is no secret that agriculture employs over 70% of Ugandans. Give a quick insight.
And you know that's the problem, where you have stopped. Agriculture employing 76% of Ugandans, to be precise, is the tragedy which befell to Uganda. Why? Agriculture is a low productivity sector. It's a sector which produces food and raw materials. Food is food. And food has what in economics we call a low income elasticity of demand. That much as you can get more money and become richer, you will never demand for more agricultural produce. You will never demand more food. Look at coffee, for example. When you are broke, or a millionaire, you still take the same amount of coffee in your tea.
Yes.
I mean in your cup. The same amount of sugar. You will not put there half a kilogram simply because you have
now earn more money.
You have become richer. Therefore, farmers don't take advantage of the reach of incomes rising. That's why if you want to build a country, to develop it, you have to move people out of agriculture into industry and services, modern sectors. In Uganda, people are stuck in a sector which is not productive. And we have sung this song for years, for decades. Agriculture is the backbone of Uganda. If agriculture continues to be the backbone of Uganda, Uganda will remain what it is now, a weak, fragile economy. Because the backbone is also fragile.
Yes.
Depending on God, when it doesn't bring rain, there is no farming. You need to get people into factories, I repeat.
Yes.
More Ugandans should be working in industry, producing goods, and we sell them to entire Africa. More Ugandans should be in modern services so that they can be able to earn money,
yes,
and build their lives.
Okay.
Actually, when you look around Uganda today, who are the rich people? What are they doing? Are they farmers?
No, they're not.
And even if there are a few farmers who are rich, those farmers don't practice the agriculture we are talking about. They are practicing modern, almost industrialized farming.
Right.
But this farming of hoes, growing things, they are just breaking people's backs. We need really to find a way of getting people out of agriculture into modern. That's what we call transformation. Okay. Government has put now 1 trillion shillings in agriculture.
Right.
But the truth is, that's still peanuts, because that trillion still has what we call domestic areas. Those areas which, in other words, money which government has not paid suppliers of seedlings.
Oh, yes.
About 200 billion, they put it on that budget. Then they also put appropriation in aid, money which some agencies are going to spend at source, some in workshops and so on, as part of agriculture. The real budget which has been invested there is 822 billion. But that's about 2.7% of the budget.
Right.
If government wants to turn around agriculture, they should put in a lot of money,
Okay.
such that they invest in modern farming, irrigation, use of fertilizer, use of machines, then build silos, build cold rooms, build, these. In other words, we need to move away from this organic agriculture we are doing. It's just for fantasy, it's just for feeling good that I'm a farmer. Like many people now think it's a fashion.
Yes,
I see many educated people, others lawyers, engineers, wherever they are talking and they are introducing themselves, I'm also a farmer. They think it is cool. No. They should be now investing in modern sectors.
Modern sectors, yes.
Put up a new IT center if you are an engineer and you employ some 10 younger people. You have made a fantastic contribution to the economy, and you will make more money than saying you have gone back to the village fighting for pieces of land with the peasants to put up a few acres of eucalyptus trees or coffee. That's not going to transform Uganda, in my view.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's the economics actually. It's not my view. That's economics.
It is the basic economics, really. Wow, thank you so much, Ramathan. Now, as we close off, what are your final views, especially in relation to the State of the Nation address?
State of the Nation, my view is simple. I've listened to the president over the years. He has a tendency of using himself as the reference, as an example, to when he wants to make a point, like he wants to show that it's important for people to invest more in modern farming, and is using himself as a reference. How he had his father, then he helped to ensure that his father moves away from those cows which were walking all over the village now to some kind of Frasians and so on, which they are doing now. I don't think that it's wise for the president, being the president, to use himself as the example that things can change, because the country has only one president.
Yes.
You better get a few other, you know,
The less
on the ground realities,
yes.
In terms of people who have really turned around their lives. In the villages there, they are there. Use model farmers in the villages as examples. To me, I think that will bring more kind of message to the public. Otherwise, this one, people look at it as patronizing. You're just trying to patronize them. You're just trying to feel good as a leader.
Right.
Another thing, I think finally, government should drop two words: mobilization and sensitization of people. Those two words do not appear anywhere in the vocabulary of transforming society. Who are you to mobilize people and sensitize them? People in this world respond to two things: incentives or danger. Create either of the two. You can no longer create danger because this is a democracy.
Yes.
So create incentives. If it is agriculture, instead of saying you are going to mobilize people into modern farming, commercial farming, create incentives. Put in place things which will make someone to go to the garden and then get money out of it. Right. I'm telling you, he will go back. But if he doesn't get money, however much you try to mobilize them, they will not go back.
They will not go back.
Because they have made a loss. So those things that government is going to mobilize, even they put a budget for mobilization, then sensitization. The one who is sensitizing themselves need sensitization.
Right.
Actually, by the other person is trying to sensitize, because those peasants you see, some people think they are irrational. They are very rational human beings. If you want to know that they are rational, you try to live a peasantry life for just 1 week. You will understand how those people are so rational. So you just need to understand their challenge and then work on the incentives to get them out of that by being attracted to this incentive you have created.
Yeah. And I would imagine, for example, for the case of farm produce, put in place
some storage facilities which are modern, markets.
For their raw materials.
Yeah. Because now, imagine someone who grows maize somewhere in a village when the price is 1,000, and then within no time the price is dropping to 200 shillings. 200 shillings. And now this person doesn't go back to the garden. The few who persevere now produce less maize, and the price increases, then others come back, and then government says, you know, you are lazy, agriculture has money, look, the price now, you can grow maize. People have seen it before, it's not working. Yeah, you need to stabilize those farm gate prices and all those other things.
Wow, wow. Again, thank you so much, Ramathan. Dr. Ramathan Ggoobi is the name, and of course, we've been so happy sharing this moment with you. Now, dear viewer, the State of Nation address is going to be a whole week's talk, really, plus perhaps a few months onwards. On Thursday this coming week, we expect the national budget to be read. And much as I've closed this interview, I will quickly ask you to tell me what you expect out of it.
National budget is already known. We have really talked about it. One, government is continuing with the infrastructure. Yes. Nothing much changing there. They have put over 6.4 trillion shillings in roads and dams, yes, rather, and bridges. Then some other 3 trillion in the dams of electricity. Then when you look at these other sectors which we would have expected the government to put money, sectors which put money direct in the pockets of people, they have peanuts. That's why I'm not very, very comfortable. Things like agriculture, industry, tourism, ICT, science and technology, those are the things which need to get more money, such that the money can go into people and create impact. But by and large, it's a huge budget, 40 trillion budget, of which only 32 are available for Parliament to appropriate. The other remaining 12 trillion and so on is just in figures, because Parliament cannot touch on it. Okay. It's already committed. So it's a budget which is hugely debt kind of strained. The debt cannot allow a lot of fiscal space to jug around with the money. And but it's a good budget by and large, because you know roads are good, dams are good. Now that they are beginning also to move to district roads, because I saw them, a number of them in the budget, and some good budget for it. I think that's good.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Ramathan. So, dear viewer, this entire week has a number of activities happening. We've had the State of Nation address by His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And of course, in a few days, we will have the Finance Minister come up to read the budget. And later on, we could have precurrent activities as a result of these two main activities. Here on Smart 24 TV, we do commit to giving you these and more updates. Stay tuned. Thank you once again for watching.